Righto. Okay. So welcome everyone. So far so good. We haven't had too many technical issues. Thanks to the guys for organising webinars. I know it's always a challenge to get people to attend and have things that are relevant to everyone. So who are we? We're essentially a small business in the southeast of South Australia, and most of our aim is to fill the gaps that the big players don't fill, i.e. the Telstras, the Optus, the NBNs, all of those types of companies. As I said, we're a small business. It's predominantly myself and my brother. We operate out of Narracourt. Well, we say that loosely because I spend most of my time in my car. And our band of staff that help us along the way. We are a business that has other components. We run an internet business where we deliver internet into people's houses. Essentially, it's an alternative to NBN satellite, where people are looking for unlimited data but can't get city-based type technologies out to them. So we do that. We have an existing IT business as well, fixing computers and whatever, as well as our telemetry work and everything else. Righto. So I was talking about it with the guys and I said, well, the first thing before you get too carried away is the first question that people always have, what are the big questions, so that we don't actually go through the whole process and get to the end and finally have a situation, well, that's all great, but what's it cost? So you don't have to wait until the end. We'll go straight into what all this stuff costs and then we'll start to run through what you get for it. So under this type of scenario, if you had 10 tanks, 10 tanks and troughs, and you needed one repeater and then just the homestead, then you'd have 12 locations that you would need to implement. So it's roughly $3.5 to $4 grand per location. So if you had 12 sites, then you're going to be between $36,000 to $48,000 to implement one of these types of systems, which, on the surface is considerably more expensive than a lot of the other alternatives. However, there is reasons for that, of which is what we'll go through now. So our whole system and the way everything that we operate is based on a fairly important premise that when things go bad, you don't want to be getting any bills, i.e. pretty much all other types of stuff in the market, whether they be, Farmbot last week or EcoSat and all those types of ones that work on a subscription-based model. Ours isn't. It's not a right or wrong thing. It's just a way that, as a business, we've chosen to go. I.e., so when things are ticking along all right, we've got rain, cattle prices are good, sheep prices are good, and you can afford to spend some money, then people can do it. But when things turn around and go the other way, you've already paid for the cost of things, and there is no ongoing cost with our system. So what do you get for your money? As I said, there's no monthly charges. There's no internal internet cost to run any of this because it's internal. You're not going over the internet, and you don't have any internet woes, i.e. people having trouble with NBN satellite, running out of data, rain, dust, those types of events. They're all removed under this type of technology. And another important one is that there's no bandwidth limitations for the price, i.e. if you decide you want to if there's already a location there or a site's in place and you've got a tank and you want to do 2 troughs, well, you just put another camera on there. It's not a situation where every time you put another thing on that it's another XYZ dollars a month or another location. It's just a matter of plugging in another camera. And an important part of the no bandwidth limitation is if you're doing things over an external medium, i.e. with a Telstra, an Optus, satellite, those types of technologies, then under that regime, if you're on a fixed price, i.e. whatever, $50 a month, or if you're on a Telstra plan, you got $200 a month, by definition, they're actually trying to limit the amount of data that they're giving you. So therefore, you get to a point where you've always got to pay more to get more. Where under ours, you own that network, so you just put over it whatever you want, which is what allows us to do all the high definition cameras and whatever else people want to put on their pump start and everything else, for a marginal extra cost of zero, which is, it's not a right or wrong, it's just how we've chosen to go. So a standard setup for us is to have a camera on a trough and a camera on the tank, or if there's two troughs, then have two cameras for the troughs and one in the tank. The reason we do cameras, which you'll see as we go along, is really about a feedback loop. It's not that it's a camera because you can see stuff. It's about what you derive from that image, i.e. is not only is a tank full or filling, you can see the water going in. Not only is there a trough there, but you can see if the trough's got water in it, you can see if there's a sheep upside down, you can see if the rangaroo's done the water run because it's left the bung out. You can see if the cow's shoved its head under the float and knocked the float cover off and there's water going everywhere. You can see all of those things. So it's not, you can't really see it as a camera, it's more that it actually creates a feedback loop. And that's why the majority of our systems run cameras. The price difference, what I said before, the difference between a $3,500 and a $4,000 system, that's just an indicative idea of trying to give people an estimate of what it would be. The variations in price depend on what things people want to do. We don't have any set system where you go, yep, this is what you pay for, this is what you get. It's pretty much, yeah, what do you want to do, and yep, let's go about doing it. So a lot of those things are whether people want to go 24-hour power, whether they want pump starts, phones, Wi-Fi calling, these types of things. Can everyone hear me okay? Am I talking too quick, or is it coming through okay?
All good.
All good? Right.
Good.
So now that we've got all the big questions out of the place, we can actually, people can, rather than having the situation where you go, well, that's all great, but how much does it cost? Now you know how much it costs, let's go through all the good fun stuff. Motivation. I think there's obviously the important part of the financial part of what people are trying to achieve, and what things cost. I think most people that looked at telemetry understand the whole saving the driving type sort of calculations, but I think it's a little bit more than that, because when you actually go down into the core elements of what people are trying to achieve, our whole business and anywhere back through the ages where people have looked at any types of technology or industrialisation is effectively in a situation where you're trying to remove labour. Now, sometimes where labour is hard to get, the labour removes itself. So attracting labour, attracting good labour, but also the direct costs of labour. But the direct costs of labour aren't just financial, because you do actually get to a point where you're down to essentially a husband and wife situation. So you're not in a situation where you've got a situation to replace labour, but more of a scenario where it becomes a quality of life scenario and or question. So you've got the option A, where you pay an employee to check a tank that 95% of the time didn't need checking, i.e., yep, it's full, drive to the next one, yep, it's full, drive to the next one, it's full, and you think, really, we pay people to do that? So, or there's option B, which is check those same tanks and 100 others yourself. Well, at the Adelaide Oval, at the Bradman Bar, and believe it or not, that's a real life scenario, and one of our customers has done that, and we've also had calls from Fiji with people away, being able to look at all of their cameras while they're away. And that's where the quality of life stuff starts to come in. Is it really a direct financial one? It's just if you've got to go to Adelaide for whatever reason, kids at school, sports days, want to go to the cricket, those sort of things, do you have to go down there, do what you need to do, turn around and come back because you're worried about water? Or do you go down to town, you have a look on the cameras, yep, it's all fine, I don't have any stock upside down and troughs, I don't have water leaks, we can stay the extra day, we don't have to turn around and go home again. So where it all started for us was at Wirramina 6 years ago, might be 7 years ago, can't remember now. And pretty much all of the stuff that you're going to see throughout this presentation was pretty much done on day one. Sam Ingalls who owns Wirraminna, is the brother that I work with, Dan. It's his wife's first cousin, and they happen to be sitting around the Christmas table at Clare, and Sam from Wirraminna said, "Oh, Dan, we're sick of driving round and round. We've got to be able to do a better way than, there's got to be a better way than this." And my great brother, who I love dearly, said, "Oh, I'll get Mike onto it. He'll know how to do it." So funnily enough, I got chucked in the deep end, and I pretty much went up and with a whole heap of gear to Wirraminna and set it up, and that's still running happily away. Most of the stuff's unchanged from day one. There was a fair bit of R&D went into it, probably over the course of a month. And since then, I think they have 100 cameras, or very close to it. Might be 90 odd cameras over about 50 sites. One of the other drivers for them was they're in the red zone of Woomera. So it's reasonably often that they'll get locked out of probably 40% of the station. And still need to be able to monitor stock and waters, even though they get locked out. The types of scenarios and stuff that we get, we don't have a product that we sell, so to speak, that we put in a box and put an Australia Post sticker on it and put it in the mail for someone to set up. Ours is a little bit more involved at one end, but probably simplified at the other, because we're on site with everyone through the whole process. People are more than welcome to come and help us with the install and be part of it, because it all helps with the ongoing maintenance of the equipment. Not that there's very much, but occasionally you have things go wrong, i.e. we've had grey nomads pull off the road and decide to go on an outback tour and go, "Oh, what's that?" and open up cabinets and leave them open for the water to go in. We've had ringers that will go, "I wonder what that looks like," and laid a tower down and broke one of the radios and couldn't get it up again. We've had compounds that have been left open and had knocked the tap off the bottom of a tank, and all the water went out and went across the ground and eroded underneath the tank, and the tank slid sideways, hit the telemetry tower and pushed it into a tree, all that sort of stuff. But it's not difficult stuff to maintain. So these are the type of projects that we get. I'm not sure if people can read that. Can you read that, Sheree?
I can read most of it.
Yeah.
The edge is cut off.
Is it? Righto.
Yeah.
Oh, well, the main thing's the highlighted part. This was Moola Watner, this was Karina's, and she got hold of me and said, right, we want a system that can cover the whole property. We wanted a water, stock, rain gauges. We want to be able to make phone calls. We want it to be able to be upgradable in a few years' time as technology changes. We want it easy to maintain. We don't want any monthly fees, and we want to be able to start it's not on there, but she wanted to be able to start and stop all of the solar bores to stop the artesian water overflowing at tanks. And it was like, really? Like that's a fairly big, fairly technical thing to achieve, of which we did actually achieve it all. And that's been running for 18 months or so now. And so now when they pull up at a tank, you can make phone calls, you can check the internet, all of those sort of things. Billy Kalina's got a similar setup where Cole and Jill, they've got essentially a car kit which creates a Wi-Fi hotspot inside the Land Cruisers, and that allows them to make phone calls and stuff like that from around the property. From a repeater, we get about a 15k radius, 20k radius, depending on topography and how many trees and stuff are in the way. But Billy Kalina's a reasonably big place. They got 3 or 4 repeaters. I think it probably covers, I'll be guessing, probably 60% of the property, something like that. In terms of one of the questions people have is, whether we can actually cover the area. Even though it's Wi-Fi and people think of a little Wi-Fi router inside their house, and how is it, or is it possible that it can cover a station and a big one? so people think, oh, well, maybe it's not for me, or maybe it needs phone signal, or maybe it needs all this other stuff, of which it doesn't. It's all an internal network, and everything comes back to the homestead. So these are, this was the original map that we did for Billicolina. Can't remember now. So it was just after Wirramina, so it was probably 5 years ago, something like that. So all the little red circles were the tanks and troughs on water lines that Cole wanted to cover. And pretty much, well, yeah, they are actually all covered now. So it's not it doesn't require satellite, it doesn't require mobile phone. The network, it does it itself, and no property's too big for us to do. As I said, a lot of the technology we use in other areas for delivering internet into households. So rather than having a house, we've got a water tank. Why do we use these type of technologies, or why do we go this way? It uses the same type of technology that you have at home, and by doing it that way, it means that you're not having anything proprietary. I.e., if it uses Wi-Fi or it's got a computer cord, you plug it in, it'll work. The two advantages for that is, one is if you come up with something that you can find on eBay because you really want it to work and you really want to use it, well, that's fine. You just buy it and use it. It doesn't really matter. But it also keeps the whole platform quite clean when it goes to operate over the internet, i.e. it's the same technology. Because ultimately now when people travel around, go away, cruising around in the ute, they want to be able to do stuff on their phones. So if you're going from any type of technology to the internet or to a phone, it's got to be clean, otherwise you just end up with bugs. And I think that as time progresses, the issues of labour, the cost pressures that continue to go on agriculture over the last few thousand years aren't going to change. And I had one guy sort of say to me, he was a great grandfather, and he said he remembered when he was a kid that, that was back in the day of boundary riders and stuff. This was in South Australia, and when wire came about, and all of a sudden, you could put this wire up and you didn't need boundary riders anymore. He said the next big one was when motorbikes came along, and all of a sudden you didn't need horses, you didn't need stables, you didn't need stable hands, you didn't need all that. That was a really big one. He said the next big one after that was polypipe, and that all of a sudden you could get water to places you couldn't before. You didn't need gangs of people to go and run water lines. And he said the telemetry stuff and this type of equipment was the next big step for them in terms of for labour. And that by using things that are readily available over the internet, everything we buy is off the shelf. Anyone's able to buy it. The trick is how to put it together and how to make it work. And I'm going to assure you that was a fairly long and slow road to get technologically where we are now. But it also gives some robustness to the system, i.e. You're not getting locked into an ecosystem where thou shall buy this person's product. It's solar controllers, it's batteries, and it's some Wi-Fi hardware. That's essentially what it is. There's a fair bit of know-how in behind it, but there's no way that you can get locked into it. And I think as importantly with all of that is once things are in, that the component cost is quite low, i.e. if you do have the grain OMED come and leave your cabinet open, then a battery's $150, solar controller's $80, a radio up the top's about $150. And I think that comes back to one of Karina's concerns or questions was, okay, what do we do in 5 years' time? Is it all redundant? And I say, oh yeah, like all technology, it'll be redundant, all right. And then you go, well, what do we do? We've just spent 50 grand and now it's all out of date. But the thing is it's really quite cheap and easy to upgrade. Once the actual network's in, then to go around and replace all of the radios for most of our customers where they've got say 10 tank sites, something like that, 10 or 15 tanks, at $150 for a radio. In 5 years' time, it's $1,500, and you replace that, and you got all new technology. It's $1,500. Yeah, it's all money, but if you replaced it every 5 years, then it's $300 a year to keep up with technology. It's not prohibitive to keep up the pace, and most of that's because in the design of the gear, 12 volts not going to change. Batteries aren't going to miraculously decide to be 36 volts. They'll be 12 volts because each cell's 2 volts. Solar panels that go into solar controllers is not going to change. The height that's required to see over a tree, that's not going to change. The only thing that changes is the radio on the top. Even the way they communicate over the internet can't easily change, because otherwise every cash register, every FPOS machine, every laptop and every mobile phone in the world would have to get thrown out, and pretty unlikely. The main thing is the speed of how the networks work.
Mike, we've just got a question about the cost of the car kits.
Yep. I make them. They're about $600, thereabouts.
Excellent, thank you.
This is the interface. Sorry, that answered the question, didn't it? Yep.
It did.
Yep.
Thank you.
This is one of the interfaces we use. It's not live at the moment. I don't sort of like going clicking around people's machines during the night. They're wondering what's going on. Most of the time they know it's me checking on something anyway. But as you can see, this here is a normal desktop screen, list of which tanks they are, what data rates, but pretty much all you need to do is over here on the right hand side, you can click live view there and just look at them camera one by one, or you can do as we are at the moment, well, not at the moment, but where you can see everyone's face. Reasonably simple. I won't try and go through it all tonight, but it's more just to say that it's a conventional desktop type layout, and all of that does actually feed through onto phone apps and everything else. There's no additional costs or ongoing costs for any of that type of stuff. Yeah, it's just a bit of an idea of the type of layout. I've spoken about this just before, but you know, essentially all our components are open source. There's no lock-ins. We don't like being tied in. As a business, we try and avoid that, and that's largely because you get 2 years down the track and something else is out there that you want to take advantage of. And as I said, you know, most of the individual components, as time rolls on, are not expensive to either replace or upgrade.
Speaking to him, but to know about the high pressure.
Sorry, was that a question?
No, sorry.
Right. So this here is just some not live footage, obviously. There's a bit of splatter on the lens there. Sorry, but it was one I quickly grabbed this afternoon, just to demonstrate that the type of stuff you'll see. But they give feedback because you can see how much water's in the tank, and that there's actually water going in the tank, i.e. if you see it's a third full, there's a third full, good or bad. Well, if it's 45 degrees and it's 5 o'clock at night and there's no water going in, it's probably bad. If there's water going in and it's 20 degrees and there is water going in, then it's not bad. So that's the reason we go for cameras. The other one is with all of this type of technology, which, you know, all telemetry will do, satellite-based stuff and mobile phone-based stuff will do, but it lets you operate where you normally cannot. This one here was on the Range Road, somewhere between Billaclina and Wirramina, somewhere in there. We only found out on the way out, unfortunately. You can probably tell by the direction of the car. We'd been out there during the day. It was actually okay. We were allowed to be where we were, but it was quite a funny photo for us. These internal type networks, as I said, you can pretty much get anything on the internet you like and plug it in and it'll go. It's all live. There's no delays. There's no 15-minute updates. There's no once a day updates. It's all live. You click on it, there it is. Maybe a delay of a second or two, but that's about all. And yeah, I think most of that sort of stuff I've covered through to this point. So because it's all open, because it's based on the internet and based on a network, same as in your house where you have the router that comes from your NBN satellite, or the one that comes in from Telstra's type systems, comes into a router, and you have the blue computer cords go out and go into the back of your computer. Our networks operate the same. So you could conceivably drive out to a tank with a printer and plug a printer in, and then drive to the next tank with your computer and then print back at the tank you just came from. You know, there's lots of stuff that happens in there, but it's all conceivable stuff to do. Proving what we already have, these are some of the other type of things outside of just standard looking at tanks and trough, pump and engine control, soils, which is for solar, diesel and electric. We do actually come out and put it in as part of the installation. We do the actuators, we do the contactors, we do all of that type of stuff to get it all to work. We do deal with the Murphy boxes on diesels and all the rest of it. We can do the graphs for water meters and water pressure, stuff like that, turning lights on and off, a couple of gate openers, all of those types of things. Whatever you more or less want to come up with, we can we generally work out how we're going to be able to do it. So what I'm going to show you now is just a rough, not a live demonstration because it's a bit hard to see because it's dark. One I recorded earlier, but the following pump was about an hour and a half round trip from the homestead. It's about 45 minutes down there. During summer, it gets started pretty much every day, or prior to this going in, every day for 8 hours. Once you left, you just hope it ran and you hope it filled the tank up. So this is all it is. You can see up the top here where it's got run, stop, or run for 12 hours. So even if you lose connection, if you've clicked the run for 12 hours, it'll continue to run and look after itself. Or if you go to, if you know a half a tank is 12 hours of running, well, if you go to bed at 8 o'clock, well, it'll turn itself off at 8 o'clock the next morning. You can have a look at it then and decide, oh no, I'm going out for the day, I'll just put it on the timer, or nah, I'll just click on the run button and it can run until I tell it to stop. Once it's in the run position, then you can just click start motor and away it'll go. So that's the type of interface that that you'll see. Coming up now, this is a pump start. Oh, hang on, it's got a bit ahead of itself. Hang on. Here we go. OC Health and Safety coming in. Little pigeon. Yep, he's giving you all the all clear. And you'll see that. Hopefully everyone saw that actuator coming in and out, and that's a Kubota one. I also do them with a cable where the mounts aren't really good, vibrates a bit too much. Well, hang on, there's the actuator again. So now these pumps can be started and stopped wherever you like. You can do it when you're down in Adelaide, you can do it when you're on a holiday in Fiji, wherever else you'd like to do it. And I think that the important part when I was talking about with cameras, why we do cameras, is about that feedback loop, and that live video tells you it's. Thankfully, these are a few other things that we do as a business as well. we do put in repeaters and stuff for Wi-Fi calling and internet. This one here is down in the Gawler Ranges. This is a telemetry system as well, but their internet actually comes through this repeater site as well. That comes from Kimber, which is about, I think it's about 70 or 80 k's away. They pull their internet in that way, shoots it down to the homestead. So it's there's more than one thing that we do with our networks. The next slide here, those ones, these same types of networking concepts. This is one of our networks down in the southeast. For those that know the geography, down on the bottom right-hand corners, down Durgam and Casterton Way. Hard on the western side is out towards Robe and Kingston, and then heading north towards Keith and Bordertown, and up towards the Narcat, Pinaroo, Lameroo. We also work in combination with another crowd, Beam, out of the Barossa, and the area there in green. For those who know Tim Stockman from the UHF days, he looks after the area there in green, which is north of Adelaide. The orange is Beam. So between our three businesses, aiming to deliver more reasonable internet to all the people that are on NBN satellite and deal with the daily chores of Telstra and Optus and all the rest of the big players. So that's just another part of what we do in the southeast. Not at this stage, not relevant up here, but it's sort of just what keeps us occupied outside of the telemetry stuff in the north. So thank you for your time. Hopefully that was answered some of the questions. Hopefully you've got a few more for me, so I'll hand back.